You may have mixed feelings about Milo Yiannopoulos, many people do, but if you're on the left, you really hate him. Like, you've never hated anybody for some reason as much as Milo Yiannopoulos. And the effect is Milo Yiannopoulos can't even go to a bar without getting driven out by screaming people. It happened over the weekend. He went to a restaurant in Manhattan, but a crowd associated with the Democratic Socialists of America, most of whom seem like rich kids, gathered around him to chant, quote, "Nazi scum, get out." Watch.
Nazi scum, get out! 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 Nazi scum, get out!
I wonder how many of those Democratic Socialists have their own student loans. Probably none. That would be my guess. Anyway, they claim that the Nazi label is justified because some of Milo's supporters once made a Nazi salute, they say. Now, it's not clear that Milo saw them do it. Whatever. The mob included an editor at The Nation magazine called Annie Shields and also a Gizmodo writer named Brendan O'Connor. So we contacted O'Connor and his editor for a comment, asked him to come on the show tonight. They sent us this statement, which they repeated on the phone. Go F yourselves, because they're writers. Chadwick Moore is a New York journalist. He was with Milo at that bar, and he joins us tonight. So here's the amazing thing to me. This took place, am I getting any of this wrong? This was a restaurant called Churchill's, named after Winston Churchill. It's on Park Avenue in New York. It has $16 salmon appetizers, and this was the venue that the socialists chose to meet at, a restaurant named after Churchill on Park Avenue.
And you notice all of the nationalistic British flags hanging around. I believe they must have come for the craft beer, is what I decided. You know how the socialists love their $8 craft beers. That's the only thing I can come up with. Surely we thought this place would be safe. We made reservations. We just wanted a simple Sunday roast. We were looking forward to this. You know, he's British. He probably hasn't had a good roast in a very long time. And we encountered, and of all the gin joints in the world, we had to walk into the one where the socialists were meeting.
So they started screaming at you and calling you names, and what happened?
Well, we had stepped outside for a moment, and on our way back into our table, they were shouting. They would not let us go back to our table. We figured we left our bags at our table, so we were going to see if they calmed down. If they didn't, we were just going to get our bags and leave out of respect for the staff and the other customers. Other customers you can see in some of those videos were scared, and they were actually running out with their children. So when we tried to go back to our table, they gathered around him and would not let us go back to our table. And then a very large, I think it was a woman, it looked like a woman-ish, shoved Milo. And that is when we realized that this was going to get very violent. It was just the two of us. And we asked the staff if they would please retrieve our bags. And they did very politely. And Milo just said, I was a very big Trump supporter in the last election, and that's what this was about. And the waitress was very confused and said, okay. Clearly none of the staff or other patrons really knew what was going on or understood this reaction. We were just two guys trying to have some lunch, trying to have a roast.
Boy, those Vassar grads are dangerous when they get mad. Did you know that they were going to be, that it was the meeting of the Trustafarians was in progress when you chose this restaurant?
Absolutely not. I didn't even know they knew where Park Avenue was. Well, their parents do, certainly. But absolutely not. We made reservations several days in advance. We just wanted an English roast, and this place had come very highly recommended. That was the end of it. I see on Twitter they're trying, because the optics of this are so terrible, and they know how awful they look, that I see on Twitter that they're trying to say that we had planned this. I see certified salon reporters with their blue check marks saying that Milo had brought his husband out, who everyone knows that Milo is married to a black guy. I don't know if they think I'm a Sean King or what, but so they keep trying to say we did this on purpose. No, we really wanted to have a peaceful lunch.
Here's one of the revolutionaries. This is Brendan O'Connor. He works at Gizmodo. This is the kid we wanted to have on tonight. I don't know if oh, there he is right there. And he's obviously acting on behalf of the global proletariat. This is the kid who says he was a journalist, but who was there sort of on behalf of the socialists. We checked, needless to say, from one of the richest suburbs of New Jersey, went to some $50,000 a year boarding school, apparently. Was he one of the people screaming at you?
Yeah, he marched outside and tried to doorstep Milo. He shoved a recorder in his face and started asking questions about, 8-month-old news stories that involved him and other things that have been debunked. And Milo was just very polite and had said, "I'm here with my friend. If you want to interview me, please send an email to me and we'll set something up." He would not drop it. He didn't know what he was talking about. He was clearly nervous and fumbling and had no idea what to ask Milo. Finally, Milo just said, "Leave me alone. I'm here with my friends. Get your facts straight. I will gladly give you a proper interview." And then we have, of course, this Nation editor who admitted on Twitter she runs the Nation's Twitter handle. She has
another worker.
Another worker.
So great.
Well, it's important to know, I don't have to tell you this, but they were all white, obviously. I don't have to tell you this.
Shields.
All 20 of them. Yes. So she has been going on a storm on Twitter, standing up for the working class and the people and all of those precious black people.
There was a time when socialists cared about economics and had an actual case to make. I don't agree with it, but I mean, They had a kind of reasoned, thought-out case.
Yes.
That was fundamentally an economic case. And then little rich kids like this got involved, and it became all about race and gender, like everything is. Anyway, Chadwick, exactly. thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. We've invited this Brendan O'Connor kid on, by the way, and we'll hope he'll come on from Gizmodo, and hopefully he'll come on tomorrow night and explain what he was doing at Churchill's scene of the revolution. MILO YIANNOPOULOS, the gay Jewish immigrant who's become the face of the red-pilled right. Evidence of that was on full display last night at Berkeley, where Milo was scheduled to speak, but was evacuated shortly before the speech for his own safety. That was America last night. Breitbart editor MILO YIANNOPOULOS joins us for his first interview since we spoke with him by phone last night. Milo, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So here's the reason I want to talk to you. It's not to endorse your views, many of which I agree with, some of which I don't. But the point is, you tried to express your views and were prevented by a violent mob. So if you were an anarchist or a Scientologist or a flat earth activist, it wouldn't matter. You were not allowed to exercise your First Amendment rights, and that's shocking. Give us first a quick recap of what happened last night to you.
Well, I think I agree with you in the first place. I mean, I'm not any of the things that these posters characterize me as in an effort to legitimize the violence. But even if I were, I don't think it would matter for the reasons you say. So I went in to do my talk. We go in a couple of hours before to set up our tech and for me to, put on a costume or something. I had a wonderful outfit plan, which is the main reason I'm upset about yesterday. I was going to go to I was going to talk about cultural appropriation in full Native American headdress. I had a full custom headdress with my name embroidered on it. I'm so mad that I didn't get to wear that. Anyway, we went in for like an hour or two beforehand. We were planning it, and suddenly there were these explosions outside. There were firecrackers and rocks being hurled at the building. The police were having things hurled at them, and I was evacuated up to the 5th floor, like by the fire escape. It was all very exciting. And then suddenly, I was being taken out of the building. I was informed that I was being evacuated because there were hundreds of protesters outside, blowing things up, hurling things at the police. The police didn't seem to me to be doing very much aside from hiding inside the building. The ground floor had been stormed, so we had to rush down to the parking lot, find one car, and that exit was blocked, so we ran to another car, and we finally got in one, and I was, bundled in, put in a bulletproof vest, and whisked away. And that is the price you pay for being a libertarian or a conservative of Berkeley, who was sort of gleefully egging this stuff on yesterday, who today had to apologize for the usual leftist name-calling of me today.
What did he say about you?
Well, the usual slurs, this white supremacist speaker. I mean, please, anyone who's spent 5 seconds in my company or 2 seconds in my bedroom knows I'm not a white supremacist. But, this usual slurs that they wheel out in a sort of effort to legitimize violence against you. They want to call you the worst possible name. It's like, the punch a Nazi thing, right? Well, I could imagine a reasonable person being taken some way along the argument of, like, it's okay to punch Nazis. But the problem is that the left calls everyone Nazis. So, because, as grateful as I am to be on the show, and I like the attention, the real people that I want to hear from are, the guys who run CNN, who are legitimizing ordinary conservatives being called white supremacists, anti-Semites, racist, sexist, when they're not. There's an inevitable, obvious consequence.
Well, I obviously have an interest in this because I don't anymore work at that network, so I don't even want to affirm what you just said, but I have to because it's true. Now, here is a tweet that they sent out, and I'm quoting. Yeah. This is from a CNN Twitter feed. Extremist MILO YIANNOPOULOS, whose Berkeley event sparked protests, takes on the college establishment and rallies white supremacists. That's from the CNN Twitter feed. I mean, is any of that true?
No, I mean, it beggars belief. I mean, it just beggars belief.
But the subtext is you deserve it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And these people must be held to account. You know, the media has created this environment in which it's okay to say almost anything about somebody who is, you know, right of Jane Fonda. You know, if you have slightly conservative or even libertarian points of view, especially if you are persuasive and charismatic and funny and effective, like we both are, you will get called the most appalling things. And it's a way of legitimizing, in some cases, as happened last night, violent responses.
Headline over the story about what happened last night. This is today. Berkeley cancels Milo Yiannopoulos' speech and Donald Trump tweets outrage. No mention of the fact that you were shut down by a mob, and this is the first line. A speech by the divisive right-wing writer Milo Yiannopoulos, University of California, Berkeley,
they're trying to insinuate. I mean, Bloomberg did the same thing. They said Milo Yiannopoulos sparks riots. You know, I was like, hang on a second. The things that authoritarians hate, one of the things dictators hate, is the sound of laughter, because they can't control it. They can't control what you find funny. And that's one of the reasons the left is always trying to dictate what humor is acceptable. You know, oh, you can't tell that joke because that's sexist. You can't tell that joke because that's racist. Well, they do that because laughter you can't control, and trying to sort of hammer that down. I'm the worst example for them of somebody who is persuasive and interesting and funny. Every one of my shows is sold out. Every single time I do a talk, people say, I never thought of that. You've really converted me. So that makes me dangerous. Dangerous because my audience is so young, so big, so strong. I'm the person probably that annoys them more than anybody except Donald Trump because I'm effective.
Did not attack the mob that set vehicles on fire and tried to injure you, and did injure a bunch of other people, but attacked Trump for threatening the funding.
Well, you know, this seems to be a fairly obvious consequence. If you don't uphold your legal responsibility to, you know, to enforce the First Amendment, you know, to provide speakers with platforms and audiences with safe, you know, the ability to go and listen to speakers of all different kinds, agnostic of ideology, as you were saying earlier. If you don't do that as a university,
hate speech.
I don't know. I'm probably going to get in terrible trouble with them, but I have no idea, and I don't think anybody else knows either. I mean, it seems to be speech that somebody doesn't like somewhere, a joke that's wrong, some you know, thing that someone offends someone's sensibilities or hurt feelings or politics or something. Certainly the Supreme Court doesn't recognize it as a kind of speech that should be, you know, treated with any special reference or whatever. Hate speech, it seems to me, has been defined by the political left as anything we don't like, anything that violates social justice doctrine, feminism, Black Lives Matter kind of ideology. It's not something that I have ever heard particularly effective. This book is already going to be one of the big books of 2017. It is going to be one of those, a big sort of signature, you know, cultural moment for a particular millennial generation that suddenly woke up and decided that being Republican was cool and was a libertarian, you know, punk alternative choice. I'm one of the people they look up to as a, you know, as a sort of, as a whatever cultural figure. This book actually is much more serious than people imagine. So if you're a feminist or a Black Lives Matter activist who is looking to be offended by this book, you might be disappointed. And if you're somebody who's going in just thinking, oh, this is going to be a load of, you know, jokes about his black boyfriends and, you know, and name-calling and fat jokes, you might also be disappointed. This is a pretty substantial book. It's a book that sets out where I believe America went wrong in terms of respecting the First Amendment, the state of free speech on American college campuses and in the media and in academia and everywhere else in America.